Welcome to Hannity. We have big breaking news on multiple fronts tonight. The people are speaking loud and clear, and the reopening of America, whether some states like it or not, is well underway. Businesses are now opening with safety measures in place. NASCAR is back. Golf is beginning to come back. The ratings are massive. Wow, wonder why. Major progress in the race for a vaccine. A biotech giant, Moderna, is now seeing promising results, human testing, actually creating antibodies. We'll talk more about it. Also, we'll review the lessons learned from the successes of Florida, Texas, the failures of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan. Plus, we will reveal the countdown of all countdowns. Let's just say it has to do with the ever so forgetful Joe Biden and his basement. We'll have the very latest from his floundering campaign. And also, we're going to play new sound from that phony hypocrite Barack Obama. It'll make your blood boil because he's really describing himself. And we start tonight with good news. We are now seeing major advancements in the development of a vaccine for COVID-19. This biotech company, Moderna, human trials are now yielding extremely positive results. It's early, but Moderna's CEO said that the initial study could not have been any better. The trial vaccine is said to be generally safe and well tolerated among participants who responded to the vaccine by producing a high number of antibodies with a relatively low dose. We'll explain. Also, a vaccine is still, well, may not be a long way out, but it's a terrific development from our top scientists. We know they will get us out of this and any other pandemic we have. Other good news, Americans have now decided that this country is reopening. They're taking matters into their own hands. Look at your screen. This is the American brilliance, ingenuity, creativity at its best. Hair salons reopening with the use of masks and other PPE. Look at this with casinos. They are now literally constructing clear barriers that enable gamblers with 6 feet difference, social distancing, to return to the tables there. Nail salons are shielding employees and customers with plexiglass and, of course, gloves and masks. One gym in New Jersey conducting mandatory temperature checks. This gym is bucking a state lockdown order in New Jersey and reopening all the way. But as you're about to see, these state mandates are becoming more and more meaningless because people are not listening. They seem to have made up their own mind. And it's not in agreement with these governors that did a particularly awful job. Take a look.
We are and we're only here for everybody's safety today. We plan for the worst, hope for the best, and it seems like that's what we have out here today. Yeah. Normally, you are all in violation of the executive order. On that note, have a good day. Everybody be safe.
All right, that one gym in New Jersey is just one of many businesses now fighting back against these state lockdowns. In the state of Michigan, yeah, you can't cut your lawn for a while. Medical centers, they have now sued Governor Whitmer with her ban on medical services that she deems non-essential. Kentucky's Democratic governor sued for restricting church services, even with social distancing and masks. And following a suit in the great state of Wisconsin, their Supreme Court struck down its safe-at-home mandates. And by the way, California now beginning to face dozens of lawsuits over constitutional infringements. What we're witnessing is the beginning to the end of state lockdowns. It looks like people watched, they listened, they quarantined, they sheltered in place, and they decided where the risks are. And tonight we know what it will take. We learn a lot of lessons from states and a lot of bad lessons from other states. We learned from the success in Florida and Texas. They focused their response on isolating at-risk communities, nursing homes, long-term care facilities, retirement homes. Look at your screen. These are the stats from Florida and Texas. With a combined population over 50 million residents, including a huge elderly population, though the two states have accounted for fewer than 4,000 total deaths, about 80,000 total cases. That is far less than the state of Michigan. By comparison, you can see that the state of New York reported 340,000 cases, approximately 30,000 deaths, some 33% of those coming from nursing homes, because instead of isolating nursing homes, long-term care facilities, like they did in Florida and they did in Texas, The New York governor issued an executive order. His was March 25th, forcing these nursing homes to admit COVID-19 positive patients. Now, around 30% of the death toll is from these facilities. And despite only recently withdrawing this disastrous order, well, Cuomo, he's totally unapologetic. Imagine if Donald Trump said the following.
Older people, vulnerable people, are going to die from this virus. That is going to happen, despite whatever you do. Because with all our progress as a society, we can't keep everyone alive, despite everything you do. And older people are more vulnerable.
In spite of what you do, COVID-19, let's send them into the areas where the people are the sickest and most vulnerable. That was a dumb idea. Imagine if President Trump then said that. Now, despite whatever you do, well, if you did what Florida did and you did what Texas did, yeah, they did a lot better. But anyway, despite what you do, okay, you mean like forcing nursing homes to take in patients infected with coronavirus when they were totally unprepared, were screaming they're unprepared, and instead of admitting them to the USNS Comfort or the Javits Center, they only used 1,000 of the 3,000 beds there, only 182 beds on the hospital ship. Well, guess what? They remain largely unused. That was Governor Cuomo, Wolf, Whitmer, Murphy, New Jersey. They made the dumbest decisions, and they did not protect the elderly and the most vulnerable. Florida and Texas did. Those executive orders by these 4 states that failed helped us learn what not to do. New York, California, they're now demanding red states also pay off their massive debt. Now, the 2 states that have the highest income taxes in the entire country, they're somehow drowning in debt. For comparison, Florida and Texas, no income tax, and by the way, no debt, and they managed to balance their budget. Make no mistake, responsible residents who live in red states, in no way should you be forced to pay off the unfunded pensions, sanctuary state policies, massive entitlements, reckless, wasteful spending on new Green Deal nonsense, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of waste. And we'll have a lot more on that with Texas Governor Abbott in a second. But first, we turn to more breaking news from the president, who just announced that he's been taking hydroxychloroquine as a prophylactic treatment to prevent COVID-19 for over a week. Predictably, the mob, the media, they're now hyperventilating over those remarks. Ever since President Trump mentioned, what have he got to lose, hydroxychloroquine, for its possible benefits months ago, well, the mob of the media, they have been waging what is an unhinged, nonstop, never-ending PR campaign against it. They acted like the president and his hope and optimism about the drug were some type of mortal sin. They called him reckless and irresponsible. No, that would be your fellow Democratic governors. They screwed up. Trump built the hospitals, manned the hospitals, and sent them all the medical equipment they needed. Now the president himself, he's made a decision, along with his doctors, to take hydroxychloroquine as a preventative treatment. Of course, this drug is something we have covered extensively on this program. It has been used to treat malaria, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis for over 65 years, and now it's being tested as a potential treatment, potential prophylactic on coronavirus, because so few patients with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis were contracting COVID. One expert, probably the world's expert on hydroxychloroquine, he is a renowned board-certified rheumatologist, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. His name, after 2 years of practice, Daniel Wallace. He has treated thousands of patients with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, etc. since 1985. He issued a letter recently about the treatment, writing, hydroxychloroquine is a very safe drug. It has been given to tens of millions of individuals in the world since its approval in 1955. That's 65 years ago. In 42 years of practice, no patient of mine has ever been hospitalized for any complication. Now, this doctor has authored over 400 peer-reviewed studies, was a principal author of the textbook on lupus, and he said the risk is nil in the doses and the time frame we're talking about as it relates to treatment of COVID-19. I'm not a doctor. I'm not advising you to take the drug, but that guy with those credentials, he seems like the foremost expert in the country. I take his word for it. So you can stay informed, know the risk, consult with your doctor, and you ultimately decide. And despite what the mob and the Democrats believe, Americans, they're smart people. They're tired of the lies, hysteria, conspiracy theories coming from the media every second, minute, hour of every 24-hour day. Americans are sick and tired of this BS. One local reporter in Long Island, well, he captured all of this on his Twitter live feed. Didn't go particularly well for him. Take a look.
Go home, you fake news. Go home.
You're destroying Suffolk and Long Island.
You are the enemy of the people.
You are fake news.
You are the
We all
enemy.
know it. You are fake news.
Kevin, tell the truth, Kevin. Come on.
Fake news is not essential. Fake news is not essential.
I think people are allowed to speak out in America. Some people get upset when Americans speak out. It is hard to be sympathetic to the mainstream media mob, considering all the mob does is think that Americans, well, respect them, but after years and years of lies and slander and hoaxes and conspiracy theories, yeah, their credibility is zero. And remember, at dozens of President Trump's rallies, remember the people in the crowd? They were pretty loud and clear with their critiques, what they think of fake news. Take a look.
CNN, which is so bad and so pathetic, and their ratings are going down.
CNN sucks. That was pretty loud, and it happened a number of times. Why? Because they're fake news, they do suck, and they do have a political agenda. Kind of that simple. Now, by the way, to that end, they will do whatever it takes to defeat President Trump in the fall.